Hello fellow Toastmasters, this is Brian with Twin City Toastmasters, and today I'm going to walk you through a quick and brief video demonstration of how to log into the Toastmasters.org website, open up your curriculum for pathways, and then walk through an actual project completion. The first thing we want to do is go to the Toastmasters.org website in our browser. From the menus, we'll then select Pathways, and then we'll click on Go to Basecamp. Next, we're going to be prompted to log into our Toastmasters account, so we're going to put in our user ID and password for that. We'll then click the Login button to log in. In my example, I'm already enrolled in a particular path called Leadership Development. So when you log in, and if you are also associated with a particular path, you will see your path located at the bottom of the screen. Next, what we want to do is click on the Open Curriculum button. This will bring us into our current progress within our project. In my example, I am in level 3 of the Leadership Development path. And you can see that there's a variety of different projects here that I can complete. For this demonstration, I'm going to use a project that I have already completed as a visual example of how to walk through a project. Over on the left-hand side, you can see that you have access to click on the different levels within your project. And if you've completed a particular level, you'll see that there's a check mark next to each of those level numbers. And as I said, under each level, you'll see a variety of projects that you need to complete. In this example, level 3, I had one main project, and then I had to do a minimum of 2 elective projects. So for example, I did the Deliver Social Speeches project, and I also did the Creating Effective Visual Aids project. We're going to use the Creating Effective Visual Aids project to walk through how you would actually complete a project. So what you would do is you would see the title of your project here as you do on my screen, and then your button here will likely say Launch. Mine says Evaluate because I've already completed it. But let's just pretend the button says Launch. So we're going to select Launch. This will open up the actual course in a pop-up window. Once the course launches, the very first slide is going to be titled Introduction, and this is exactly what you would think it would be. A basic introduction and overview of your actual project. A few things to familiarize you with that will be common throughout the entire project. You have these left and right navigation arrows, and you would use those basically to go backwards or forwards in the actual project content. We'll refer to these as slides. And then down at the bottom, you'll see that there's a drop-down menu here, and it says Select to move to another section. So if you click on this, you can see the various sections of this project, and if you wanted to, you could click on a different area to be moved to that particular part of the course. In this example, though, we're just going to walk through the course in the chronological order as if you were completing the project. So once you've read the introduction, you can go ahead and click the right arrow to continue. The next screen is titled Your Assignment, and as you can see, this provides a purpose and an overview of your assignment. You'll also notice that there is a red link that's embedded within this particular project slide. So what you can do here is click on Project Checklist, and this will actually provide you a downloadable/printable checklist that you can use to help you as you go through your particular project. We can go ahead and close this browser tab and get back to our project. So once we've completed reading the Your Assignment slide, we'll use the right arrow to click to the next slide. Every project requires you to do a before and after skills assessment of this particular area of study. In this case, we need to assess our skills before on creating effective visual aids. You'll notice that there's a scale of 1 to 5. 1 would be the least amount of knowledge and skill in a particular area, and 5 would be the most. You'll also notice that there's back and next buttons underneath the ratings. To walk through the various questions and pick your ratings, you would simply just click on a dot for the rating number that matches your current level of knowledge in this area, and then you would click the next button to move to the next question. So we'll just go ahead and click through these as I've already completed this particular project. And you'll notice once you get to the last question, the next button will gray out. So we'll go ahead and click the right arrow to move to the next slide. This slide is titled Competencies. And you'll see here that there's a list of competencies that we're going to learn and practice as part of this particular project. We'll go ahead and click the right arrow to move to the next slide. As we saw with the skills assessment, we have a variety of different pieces of content that are part of this slide. So for example, choosing your visual aid. It's going to walk through and basically show us different types of visual aids that you could use in a presentation or a speech. To navigate through the various types of visual aids, we would click on the next button to progress through each of those examples. And much like we saw with the skills assessment, the next button is now grayed out. At this point, we can click the right arrow to continue. Sometimes a project will actually ask you to answer what you feel is the best answer for a particular question or scenario. For example, question 1 of 3. Ken's speech is about the positive effects of sunlight on plants. He wants to show his audience of 15 people a picture of a plant exposed to the sun next to a plant that has no sun exposure. The best medium to do this would be, and we have choices of a poster, a whiteboard, a flip chart, or a handout. I'm going to take a wild guess and say that a poster would probably be the best visual aid. And you'll see that the feedback says that we got the answer correct, and to use the X button to close the window. So we'll close this window. You would then go through and answer the remaining questions, and once you completed that, you would click on the right arrow to move to the next slide. Throughout the entire project, you'll be presented with slides that provide useful information for you to learn and read. Once you've finished reading each slide, as we've mentioned before, go ahead and click the right arrow to move to the next slide. Continue doing this through the entire course. Again, anytime you see content that provides a next button, use that maroon next button to progress through those particular pieces of content. Once you've reached the end of the content for a particular project, you'll receive a Complete Your Assignment slide. On this slide, you'll see that there's a More button that's maroon colored. If you go ahead and click that, it will expose additional information. For example, review, organize, schedule, and prepare. You'll also see that there's another chance for you to obtain a copy of the project checklist for your particular project. The Your Evaluation slide gives you an opportunity to review and evaluate the criteria that you're going to be evaluated on when you deliver your speech. So for example, you can see that for different skills, there's a scale of 1 to 5 here. And you can simply click on each of these tabs to see a description or explanation of a particular level of skill for your evaluation. Underneath Resources, you'll notice that there's a link for an evaluation resource. This is going to be extremely important for you to bring with you to the club when you actually deliver your speech. So let's go ahead and click on this to take a look at it. In this case, you'll see that this particular project, the speech for it, is 5 to 7 minutes. And what you would do is simply just enter in your member name, your date, the person who's going to be evaluating you, as well as a speech title. And you can also read the additional information that's part of the evaluation form. But the primary goal of this form is for you to give it to the person at the club who is going to actually be completing your evaluation during the club meeting. So at this point, I would recommend saving the form and bringing it with you to the club, pre-filled out with as much information as possible, and then once you know who your evaluator will be, put their name in here as well. So let's go ahead and close this tab. At this point, you're ready to schedule your speech for the Twin City Toastmasters Club. To do this, use the sign-up sheet that gets sent around at our club meetings, or contact the VP of Education or one of our other officers to schedule your speech. The day that you're scheduled to deliver your speech, please be sure to bring a completed evaluation form, as well as any other information or resources that you're going to need to deliver your speech effectively. In addition, it's recommended that you bring a piece of paper with your speech title, as well as an introduction to your speech. This introduction and title will be read prior to calling you up to actually deliver your speech. Once you arrive at the meeting and you identify who your evaluator will be, make sure to give them the evaluation form that you printed out as part of this particular project. Well, I hope your speech went well and that you received some valuable feedback as part of your evaluation. You've now finished your speech and you're ready to come in and move on to the next project. So what you would do is log into Toastmasters.org the same way that we did at the beginning of this video, and you will then open up the project for the project that you delivered your speech for, and the screen that comes up after your evaluation slide is going to be an Assess Your Skills After screen. In my example here, you can't see the actual questions and scale between 1 to 5 like we saw with the before, because I've already completed this particular project. But you would essentially see the questions and then the buttons for 1 through 5, and then the next button to move through the different questions. But in my example, once I completed the After Skills Assessment, you can see a comparison between my befores and my afters. And the expected goal here would be that you would see an improvement of your skills after you've actually completed the project and received valuable feedback from a member at the club. Once you've completed the actual project and you've completed this skills assessment, you can go ahead and click the right arrow. And you'll then be presented with a congratulations screen. And congratulations on completing a project as part of Pathways.